Welcome to Starship TV. Are you ready for a zombie movie review? Today we review Revenge of the Zombies, which was released in theaters in 1943. The film centers around Nazi scientist Dr. von Alterman, who is conducting experiments in a secluded Louisiana mansion to create an army of zombies for the Third Reich. The story begins with the arrival of Scott Warrington and his friend Larry Adams, who is posing as Scott. They are investigating the suspicious death of Scott's sister Lila, who is married to von Alterman. Their family doctor, Dr. Keating, suspects Lila was poisoned. Unbeknownst to them, von Alterman has indeed murdered Lila and reanimated her as a zombie. He is also controlling other zombies working in the swamp. However, he is surprised when Lila shows signs of free will and challenges his control. As Larry and Scott investigate, aided by Larry's servant Jeff and eventually von Alterman's secretary Jennifer, they uncover the doctor's sinister plans. They witness the zombies and eventually see Lila walking despite supposedly being dead. The film follows their attempts to expose von Alterman's experiments and stop his plan to provide Germany with an undead army. This leads to confrontations, discoveries of secret laboratories, and the involvement of a German agent. Ultimately, Lila, regaining her will, leads the other zombies against von Alterman, resulting in his demise in the swamp. With his death, the zombies return to their graves, and the living characters are left to deal with the aftermath of the horrific events. Starship TV standout performances in this film are Mantan Moreland, who portrays Jeff Jackson, Larry Adams, who is posing as Scott Warrington Driver. Moreland's character is largely comedic relief. Moreland's performance is typical of his other film roles. He employs his signature comedic style, relying on exaggerated expressions and frightened reactions. His role provides many moments of levity. Madame Sultewan, who plays Mami Beulah, is very good as one of the servants in the mansion. She is depicted as superstitious and fearful of the supernatural events. Sultewan, a veteran actress with a long career, brings a certain gravitas to her role. Her performance relies on conveying fear and concern through her expressions and delivery. She brings authenticity to her portrayal. Veda Ann Borg plays Lila von Alterman, Scott Warrington's deceased sister and Dr. von Alterman's wife. She is murdered by her husband and then reanimated as one of his zombies. Her character undergoes a transformation from a living woman to a controlled undead being, and eventually shows glimmers of her former self. Borg's performance in Revenge of the Zombies is quite interesting, particularly considering the limitations of playing a zombie in 1943. Initially, as the reanimated Lila, she embodies the classic zombie tropes of the time: a vacant stare, slow and deliberate movements, and a generally lifeless demeanor. Borg effectively conveys this sense of being under the control of another force. However, what makes her performance notable is the subtle portrayal of Lila's returning will. As the film progresses, Borg manages to hint at the struggle within the zombie, suggesting that remnants of Lila's consciousness are fighting against von Alterman's control. This is often conveyed through fleeting expressions, a slight hesitation in her movements, or a momentary flicker in her eyes. She doesn't have a lot of dialogue in her zombified state, so her performance relies heavily on her physicality and facial expressions. Borg manages to make the transition from a purely controlled zombie to one exhibiting signs of independent thought believable within the context of the film's narrative. Her portrayal adds a layer of tragic complexity to the character, as the audience witnesses the lingering presence of the murdered woman within the undead creature. While the special effects and makeup of the time were limited, Borg's acting choices effectively communicate the unnatural state of her character and the gradual re-emergence of her former self, culminating in her pivotal role in turning against von Alterman. Her performance contributes significantly to the film's atmosphere and the tragic element of Lila's fate. Here is the entire cast and characters of Revenge of the Zombies. John Carradine as Dr. Max Heinrich von Alterman, Gail Storm as Jennifer Rand, Robert Lowery as Larry Adams, Bob Steele as the United States agent posing as sheriff, Mantan Moreland as Jeff Jackson, Veda Ann Borg as Lila von Alterman, Barry McCollum as Dr. Harvey Keating, Moritz Hugo as Scott Warrington, Madame Sultewan as Mami Beulah, James Baskett as Lazarus, Sybil Lewis as Rosella, Robert Cherry as Pete, a zombie, Franklin Farnham as a zombie, Director was Steve Sekely. The film was produced by Monogram Pictures. And you're watching Starship TV. Thank you for joining us today for our review of Revenge of the Zombies.